Okay. Buenos días.
Good morning. Good morning from Barcelona again. Today, let's inaugurate our third day of our Meda Week of Mediterranean Economic Leaders. Today, it's our pleasure to have a very rich agenda with an interesting agenda for both private sector, public authorities, international agencies, with an interesting agenda for students, experts keen on what the Mediterranean is up to now and long-term forecasts. Today, when this inauguration session is over, we'll have the 12th edition of the Europe Mediterranean Forum of Women Entrepreneurs, the 4th edition of the Forum of Hospitality and Hotel Industry. We'll have as well critical event now because of its weight on hotels, which is the trade fair and congress industry in the Mediterranean. Let's as well talk about rural development and farming in the Mediterranean. We'll introduce the FASTER project, and we'll have as well the privilege to introduce, to premiere the creation of WIO of the UNO. On top of this, we'll have 6 events that add to the 13 events scheduled. Yesterday and on Wednesday, so it adds up to 20 events. So we are very happy with the input, with attendance we've registered this far. It is our pleasure to check that our months-long work is interesting. 4,000 of participants following us up these days. Today, let's try to share ideas, forecasts about the 25th anniversary of the Barcelona process, a Mediterranean process that started in 1995 on November 27th and 28th. This conference wanted to transform the Mediterranean into an area of peace, democracy, prosperity. However, political, economic issues in the Mediterranean that at that time were a common challenge for us to share are pervasive now. This challenge has grown since then, and the outcome of this conference doesn't live up to the targets set for us to deliver on to expectations we Mediterraneans had. The human tragedy the Mediterranean goes through does mirror the challenges we face now. 25 years after the Barcelona process, many targets still apply. Let's work to improve shared prosperity based on good relations between North and South. Europe is still the first commercial economic partner of the South and West Mediterranean, but the last events since the financial crisis, the Arab Spring, the refugee crisis, add to the pandemic and strengthen the need to carry on working together in order to make it with the targets set in Barcelona 25 years ago. Today, more than ever, financial investment issues should factor in a debate that currently is overrun by security and migration agendas. Let's approach new ideas, audacious proposals, strengthen economic integration. We are still and time to make it with a new balance, to strengthen our policy to prevent further nightmares. Let's take critical steps favoring trade, investment, people's circulation for mutual benefit. In a nutshell, we are for development in order to create a horizon of hope. SCAME has pioneered the launch of a strategy that is holistic, that is set on growth based on good governance, the development of a middle class that is a strong social cohesiveness, the emergency of a resuscitation after the financial death created by COVID. We have to lay foundations of a new development model as well. We are sensitive to it. That should be different, based on giving momentum to the potential innovation, digitalization, green economy, blue economy that is sea-based, and helping our driving industries in the Mediterranean, i.e., holiday making, textile, farming, food, to name a few, become sustainable industries. Today, we have two celebrities, world-class celebrities that will provide us with new ideas about how to carry on, how we should approach in the private arena and government-wide, since the government faces the heavy duty to try to carry this process out, which now is more necessary than ever after we've seen that China and 15 countries in Pacific Asia have just created a free trade area shared by countries that are at the same level as the Mediterranean, belonging to the first economy class, and countries that are still developing. Again, I tell you that we have two celebrities, two experts. My gratitude goes to Krista Schwein, chair of the Social Committee of the Commission of Atzhala Shihil Masi, former Secretary General of the UFM, who is with us today. Without further ado, the word goes to Krista. Good morning from Vienna. Let me switch to English.
Distinguished participants, I am very honored to welcome you today and to open this 12th edition of the Mediterranean Women Entrepreneurs Forum. I would particularly like to thank Maria Elena de Felipe for the invitation, as she is not only the president of one of the organizers, the Federation of Organizations of Mediterranean Businesswomen, but also an extremely active member of the European Economic and Social Committee. Congratulations for that, dear Maria Elena. As you have understood, I represent the European Economic and Social Committee, and I was elected as a new president end of October. Our committee is an advisory body to the European Union that represents employers, trade unions, and other civil society organizations like NGOs, consumers, people with disabilities, farmers, young people. I myself come from the employers group. Our key mission is to make the voice of organized civil society heard at European level by the European institutions, and we ensure that European policies reflect the situation on the ground more accurately and that they are better understood in the EU countries. Ladies and gentlemen, this year the Meta Women Entrepreneurship Forum is held in the context of the 25th anniversary of the Barcelona process. A quarter of a century has passed since the launch of this process that aims to strengthen relations between Europe and the southern Mediterranean countries. In this period, the trade volume between the two shores of the Mediterranean has grown at an average annual rate of 8%, reaching nearly 10% of the EU's total external trade during the last year. However, This anniversary also comes at a time of great disruption. The current health crisis notably has a severe economic and social impact on both shores of the Mediterranean, and women have been particularly hard hit by the hardship unleashed by the pandemic. Businesses struggle to survive and to keep their employees. People lose their jobs, and social inequalities are deepening. COVID-19 has a stark reminder of the need for tangible and coordinated cooperation across borders, sectors, and generations. Our collective response will determine how fast the region recovers after the pandemic. We certainly need to become more resilient for the future. Our efforts to recover from the crisis are also an opportunity to put in place a different post-COVID world, more prosperous, greener, digital, and socially inclusive. It is also time for a great push for gender equality in all fields and for rethinking women's role in the economy. Women are at the forefront of the battle against COVID-19, very often risking their lives to save others. They represent 70% of the health and social sector workforce globally. Unfortunately, they are still underrepresented at institutional, political, and economic levels. There is a continuing gender gap in terms of entrepreneurship, which translates into fewer women entrepreneurs all over the world. A recent report of the European Investment Bank and the Commission observes that in Europe, women represent roughly 52% of the overall population in Europe, but constitute only 34% of the self-employed in the European Union and 30% of its startup entrepreneurs. This is an unexploited potential for economic growth. Also, self-employed women are less well off than self-employed men. 76% of self-employed women in the EU are own account workers without employees, compared to 69% of men. Giving more credit and support to women entrepreneurs makes totally sense, and not only from a social perspective, but also from an economical perspective. Women can play a decisive role in recovery. The businesses that they tend to lead be more productive, faster growing, and innovative. According to the European Commission, improvements to gender equality could create 10.5 million jobs by 2050 and boost the EU economy by between 1.95 and 3.15 trillion euros. In general, achieving gender equality in all fields is particularly critical to improve the labor market situation of young women and men in the Mediterranean region, a region with the highest youth unemployment worldwide. Entrepreneurship is also a clear opportunity for women's own economic independence. It also allows them to network and to avoid being isolated, especially the women in small towns or rural environments. Female entrepreneurship must therefore always also be supported in several ways. The objective is to allow them to succeed in emerging and growing sectors like the ICT, green economy, Industry 4.0, e-commerce. To give some examples, entrepreneurship education should be mainstreamed into education and training. It should also be more practice-oriented. Women need targeted funding, guidance, and business services. We need to remove structural barriers with regard to access to finance. Mentoring business champions and innovative forms of financing can be useful to overcome barriers. We need to tackle segregation and stereotypes and encourage girls and women to be active in certain male-dominated sectors such as ICT. In Europe, only 10% of women pursue a career in these fields. Addressing the digital gender gap is also a must. The coronavirus crisis has showed us the importance of being digital, be resilient to crisis. Digital technologies have become an essential tool, allowing us to deliver during this pandemic. It is true for governments, legislature, and public institutions, and it is true for businesses. Allow me to say a few more words on digitalization, as it is now an integral component of the economic recovery plan. The digital transformation is having a far-reaching impact on the business environment. New technologies can offer numerous opportunities, and companies that become competent and move quickly in these areas during the crisis will have a strategic advantage over their competitors in the post-pandemic economy. We need to find a way to take advantage of the opportunities of digitalization, allowing SMEs, large companies, and non-profit economic actors, as well as workers and consumers, to benefit alike. To mention just a few of the opportunities linked to the digitalization and new technologies. Productivity can be improved by enabling innovation and reducing the costs of business processes. Trends such as e-commerce, big data, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things could lead to large productivity gains for the economy. Digital innovation hubs, which are being set up in many local economic systems in Europe, are very useful. These hubs act as a one-stop shops where companies, especially SMEs and startups, can get access to technology testing, financing advice, market intelligence, and networking opportunities. The involvement of social partners and civil society can ensure that the work done by the hubs is tailored to the needs of local businesses and workers. Digitalization also offers a great potential for sustainability. We need to support digital solutions that allow us to protect the environment and green sectors like transport, energy, construction, and agriculture. Digitalization has also played a role in the Arab Spring, the social movement of major importance for the Mediterranean region. These movements would never have gained their force without the use of smartphones and social media. Women accounted for 60% of protesters of the Arab Spring movements. To reap opportunities offered by digitalization, we need to improve the digital capacity of businesses and in particular of SMEs. Also, equipping people with the right skills all lifelong is key. Many workers in the EU still need support with the basics of digitalization, and I'm sure that the southern Mediterranean businesses are facing the same challenges. We also have to pay attention to the challenges posed by digitalization being inclusive, mind the gap between digital natives and older people and addressing it through education and digital training, tackle the income disparities, improve the access to social security, promote constructive and social dialogue. Dear participants, let me finish with a quote from the Stanford economist Paul Romer. A crisis is a terrible thing to waste. I hope our decision makers will not lose the opportunity to give full support to female entrepreneurs. It is not only a matter of fairness towards women and equity, but it's also a way to unleash growth in our economies and societies. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to very interesting discussions and send warm greetings from cold Vienna to beautiful Barcelona. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista, y felicidades por el...
Congratulations on your appointment. We satisfy ourselves that it will be a success. Your mandate will be a success in the Social and Economic Committee of the EU. I agree with you on everything you said, especially on your key message. Without women's input into Mediterranean economy, especially in South economies and the Eastern economies, there is no economic development, there is no growth. 50% of the society can't be kept off economic development, can't be invited to input into economic growth. Introducing Mr. Fadhala is easy and complex at the same time. He is a celebrity, an expert that is conversant with Europe, the Mediterranean as well. He is a diplomat. He is conversant with economy, trade issues, as well as, because of his last appointment as Secretary General of the UFM, and for many years, with a mandate that has given critical momentum to the development of the UFM, Union for the Mediterranean. He's been acquainted and he's gone through the events previously quoted by us, especially. I'm sure that his ideas, his input will shed light for us on our reflection, and for us in the private sector will help us re-strengthen our ideas that without economic development without integration and economic development between North and South Mediterranean, there is no solution. Short and long term, without further ado, the floor goes to Mr. Fathala Sejil Massi. Gracias. Anwar. Saludos desde Marruecos, Rabat. Aquí tenemos tiempo soleado. Para mí es un placer tomar hoy la palabra en la MEDA Week. Desde luego, me decepciona que no podamos reunirnos físicamente en Barcelona, porque uno de los principales gajes de las excelentes MEDA Weeks que hemos celebrado cada año ha sido la interconexión entre individuos, las conexiones, las relaciones que se crean en el Congreso. Sin embargo, felicidades a Ascame, a su presidencia, a su coordinador general, Anwar, y al equipo organizador de MEDA Week. Felicidades por haberse atrevido a tener la fuerza y la eficiencia de organizar este acto con todas las herramientas tecnológicas necesarias que nos permiten, repito, comparecer en este acto anual que se ha convertido en un hito importantísimo en nuestro itinerario. Todos los amigos del Mediterráneo, todos mancomunamos un futuro común pese a los retos. Compartimos un futuro común. Seguimos esforzándonos, trabajando duro por avanzar. Dado que tengo la palabra en esta ceremonia inaugural del día de hoy, mi agradecimiento a Chris, mi felicitación a la señora Schwen por su nombramiento como presidenta de una institución que conozco perfectamente, que admiro mucho. Seguro que nos aprovecharemos de su experiencia, de su buen hacer, seguro que llevará la entidad a nuevas alturas de excelencia y arrastrará todos los retos arrastrados por Europa, sus países vecinos, los retos que arrastramos ahora. También unas palabras para mi amiga Marilena de Felipe. Gracias por organizar este fórum concreto en el marco de la MEDA Week. Repito que este acto es un acto clave en el marco de cualquier dinámica positiva que se pueda introducir en nuestra región. Así que felicitaciones a María Elena de Felipe por su logro, deseándole lo mejor en su singladura, que seguiremos muy de cerca. Desde luego hay muchas iniciativas lanzadas por su parte ya, y el AFAM siempre ha sido un actor clave en la ejecución de proyectos lanzados por una plataforma dedicada a la promoción de conexiones, de relaciones, iniciativas compartidas entre las personas idóneas sobre unos temas que nos competen. Es una oportunidad también de añadir nuevas ideas, de hacer más, de renovar el impulso a la dinámica. En el marco de mis comentarios de inauguración, de presentación, quiero centrarme en 3 ideas. Quiero hacer una aportación al debate de hoy con esas 3 ideas mías, también una aportación a los debates hasta ahora efectuados en el marco de la MW20. Primera mensaje, primera idea. Estamos ahora en un contexto nuevo en esta región. La verdad, conmemoramos las bodas de plata de la Declaración de Barcelona, noviembre del año 95. De hecho, todo lo escrito, decidido en noviembre del 95, aún es vigente hoy. Siempre recomiendo a cualquier personalidad, a cualquiera deseoso de o interesado por la renovación del espíritu mediterráneo, que vuelvan a leer la Declaración de Barcelona de hace 25 años. Que la vuelvan a leer o que la lean por primera vez, porque resulta interesantísimo, porque comprobamos en qué medida todos los puntos concretados hace 25 años todavía rigen hoy. Sin embargo, hemos de atendernos a lo esencial, la pertinencia todavía hoy de tales objetivos, y adaptémoslos a un contexto nuevo, al cual hoy hemos llegado. La pandemia nos lo ha creado, la cual no actúa como un elemento perturbador, como un trastorno, como una novedad a la que adaptarnos tras la pandemia. Ha funcionado como aceleradora de una serie de coyunturas, de tendencias que ya empezaron a apreciarse antes del brote, pero que ha acentuado la pandemia. Desde luego, notablemente además, dos ideas más que lanzo sobre este primer mensaje. Primero, digo que la crisis de la pandemia, que aún no hemos superado, todavía estamos en su meollo. Es preciso que abordemos los efectos a corto plazo de la crisis y también que hagamos pronósticos, que tengamos un panorama más a largo plazo. Los aspectos de esta visión a largo plazo nos obligan a considerar una reconfiguración de la cadena de valor global en todo el mundo. Como acertadamente comentó Anwar, el acuerdo de libre comercio firmado hace solo unos días por parte de Pekín y 15 países más de la zona Asia-Pacífico es un claro indicador de que ciertas dinámicas se están acelerando y están reconfigurando la cadena de valor global del planeta. Y todavía sigo defendiendo la multilateralidad y la validez de las relaciones internacionales en una economía globalizada. De hecho, aumentará el grado de regionalización simultáneamente en el marco de estos regímenes multilaterales, lo cual inevitablemente desembocará en la reconfiguración de la cadena global de valor, convirtiéndola en cadenas de valor regionales, asistiéndose a avances que, por desgracia, no tengo tiempo para abordar pormenorizadamente hoy. De hecho, he aquí una tendencia de lo más palpable. Segundo comentario mío. Sobre una base sectorial y temática, hay claras indicaciones de que la reconfiguración de la economía dependerá de tres cosas que cito. Primero, la economía de la vida, como dicen los economistas, la de la asistencia, lato sensu, como decíamos antes de la pandemia, una economía que comprende la salud de cabo a rabo, la educación y la seguridad alimentaria. Cosas básicas, vitales, indispensables para el desarrollo de la economía de la vida, la economía de la asistencia, de los cuidados, en sectores vitales muy cercanos a la población. Sabemos lo importante que son estos temas durante la pandemia que atravesamos hoy. Segundo bloque, economía verde. Tercer bloque, la economía digital. La señora Schwenk acertadamente comentó el asunto pormenorizadamente. De hecho, el crecimiento del mañana, el desarrollo del mañana, serán más, entre comillas, humanos, sociales, más verdes y seremos además mucho más digitales que hoy. He aquí los principales elementos que impactarán las diferentes estrategias de desarrollo que tendremos que ejecutar y que la pandemia ha acelerado notablemente. En cuanto a su ejecución, segundo tema que abordo, es que dentro de ese prólogo del primer punto, hoy más que nunca se nota la necesidad de que suba la cooperación interregional. Un país solo no puede sobrevivir, sobre todo en época de crisis. No puede abordar los diferentes retos que se producen ahora. Por este motivo, resulta tan importante seguir cooperando interregionalmente. A tal fin, las iniciativas como la MEDA Week y el foro regional de la UFM a fines de la semana es una iniciativa tan importante porque al fin y al cabo necesitamos crear una resiliencia comunitaria, colectiva. Hace 10-15 años la clave hubiera sido competitividad. Hablando de temas económicos, la clave hubiera sido la competitividad. Hoy la palabra clave es resiliencia, flexibilidad, la resiliencia comunitaria, la cual solo puede trazarse en el marco de un ámbito dilatado regional y de unas políticas que fomenten la cooperación interregional, la cual exige el cumplimiento de dos condiciones. Primero, una fuerte voluntad política, que siempre ha de integrarse en ello. Estoy seguro de que este será el caso de aquí a unos días, cuando tomen la palabra los líderes que se reunirán virtualmente para hablar del tema. Y
cooperation willingness to strengthen it, but also through the implementation of concrete projects and initiatives. And I really would like to underline the importance of it, the importance of implementation of projects and initiatives, because at the end of the day, populations need tangible results to all the visions and strategies that are foreseen and that are necessary to be designed, but then they need to be implemented through the project and initiative. And it is here that I would like to commend once more work that is being carried out by AFAEME, for example, on all the gender issue aspects, women entrepreneurship, women education, inclusiveness, And I have been personally a witness of the impact, the very positive impact of these projects carried out by institutions and organizations such as AFAEME. They make the difference. It is true that we need to do more, we need to amplify, we need to scale up, but these projects make a difference. And this is very important, and good politics should also enable institutions, organizations, initiatives such as those, and such as so many that are being carried out within the framework of the UFM, within the framework of other initiatives. It's very important to scale up, to broaden the impact, and to support them further in order to do more, because they are going in the right direction to give content, substance to the political willingness to increase regional cooperation. And I think that within the framework of the pandemic, it's more important than ever. My third and final message is that when you talk about the regional dimension, here also for the last decade, and specifically since November 95, one would talk about the Euro-Mediterranean region, which is, as I said earlier, it's still relevant more than ever. But very obviously, one needs to go beyond this Euro-Mediterranean, strictly geographical dimension, and to include the global African dimension. There is a clear need to build a stronger regional cooperation, regional integration, regional resilience in the Euro-Mediterranean Africa global region. And I think this also will be one of the major trends that will come out of the post-pandemic crisis. As I said, it had started before, and the pandemic crisis is not destructive in that perspective, is an accelerator of its reality that I think needs not only the political decisions that will be taken in the appropriate frameworks, but also need institutions and initiatives and events such as the MEDA Week that can become the MEDA Africa Week. And my good friend Anwar Zibawi already years ago had started inviting colleagues from other African countries in the continent to participate in the meetings, to have specific events also. And I think this is exactly the kind of initiatives that we need to continue doing, promoting these people-to-people, entrepreneur-to-entrepreneur, stakeholders to stakeholder, because at the end of the day, everything that we are talking about has a human dimension, and this is our collective capital, so to speak. And this is why I'm very happy to participate very humbly in this session, and look very much forward to listening to the discussions, to the debates, and interacting with all the colleagues. Again, a very special thanks to all, warmest greetings from Rabat, and looking very much forward to seeing all of you as soon as possible, and when the circumstances will allow us to do so. Many thanks.
Muchas gracias, Fathallah.
Thank you, Fathallah. I recommend you the last book written by him. We all agree on the fact that the future of Europe is on both shores of the Mediterranean. Let me just close this event institutionally, this MEDA Week 2020. My gratitude goes first to the two experts that have helped us today. My gratitude goes to organizations that work together with us for these 3 days. helping us arrange the agenda, helping us in other dimensions. Especially today, my gratitude goes to Barcelona, chair of the Association International of Hotels, who later will get the floor at noon when we inaugurate the Hotel Forum. My gratitude goes to Mrs. Elena de Felipe. I think that MEDA Week are the same without the commitment of Ms. de Felipe. I'm a friend of Elena de Felipe. Personally, I bear witness to it on behalf of ASCAME. My gratitude goes to Elena de Felipe for her help, for her commitment with ASCAME and MEDA Week. However, let me also remind you that over these weeks there has been a team that worked their fingers to the bone in a complex framework because of the pandemic. A team of people who helped us arrange MEDA Week the best way possible. This team includes people with names: Adele, Anna, Bianca, Luis, Fernanda, Diana. These are the members of the team that worked for these months 24/7. Without them, it's impossible to make it. Thank you all, and let's start our forum of Euro-Mediterranean women entrepreneurs. Thank you.